Hello. Ooh, that has to go a lot lower. Ooh, look at my cheeks. I'm so warm. Hi, guys. Okay. This is so much different than my usual Tarot Tuesday. Welcome to Runes Thursday. I don't know what I'm calling it. Okay. Let me mute. Shoot, before I hear myself on here. Hello, hello. How is everyone? Antonello, hi. How are you? Yay! How is everyone? I'm so excited. Is everyone excited? Yay! Look at all of you. We have 30 people in here already. Yay! Okay. So I have way too much crap around me. Yay! Fabulous, of course. All right, so let me get my hellos out of the way. Hi, Ash, Sherry, Donna. I chat from my phone, but listen from the TV. That's okay. My kids always steal the TV, so I have to watch on my computer. That's all right. Hi, Scott. Sherry. Sister Jude. Hello, Christiana. Hi. It's okay. Rowena. Hi. Hi, Lady Hawk, which is Finesse. See, I'll get there. T-Bro, Joseph, Nadine. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Leanne. That's okay. Hi, Kitten. Yay. Oh, good. Lady D, almost slept through this. Oh, no. All right. Mel, Deb, hi. Deb, hi. I know. Poor Leanne. I know, honey. I hear ya. Hi, Thomas. Okay. So how is everyone? Is everyone as good as I am? So I must say, because I'm not like really well versed, I sit back and I gotta adjust. Because I'm not like as well versed as I am like in the tarot with runes, I of course have been a little nervous about it because I'm like, do I really have the cojones to teach? Well, I told you guys ahead of time that I'm going to be learning right along with you. I do a lot of research for what I do, though. And so I feel like because I'm not up here saying, hey, I'm an expert and I'm going to teach you everything. I'm saying, let's learn these together. I'm going to do most of the work and then I'm going to teach it to you what I learned. But, I do want to say ahead of time that I'm certainly not an expert at the runes at all. But I feel like I am able to learn things very quickly. And I really enjoy the research part of it and, looking stuff up and learning stuff. And I'm hoping partly that when I learn new things, call it a learn along with. Yes, exactly. When I learn new things, I can look at things from a perspective of a beginner, which sometimes makes it easier for us all to learn together. Because like with the tarot, I'm not always teaching from the perspective of a beginner. I try to remember and I hope that sometimes I at least, remember what it's like to be a beginner. But in this case, hopefully we can kind of grow with each other and learn from each other. And hopefully you won't be intimidated at all as far as you can ask questions. And if I don't know the answer, I have no problem, guys, with saying, geez, I have no idea. Let's find out. Let me investigate. We'll talk about it next time when we come back together. Okay? Does that sound good? The research is the fun part. Yes, the runes are alive like the tarot. Yes. I don't know if anyone runs out of things to learn about the runes in a single lifetime, right? And that's true. Like anything, there's always new stuff to learn, for sure. You sound like a graduate student on the first day of teaching a class. I know, right? Well, it is weird. It's weird for me to not, thank you. It's weird for me not to not be an expert, because I've never said I'm an expert at this. But for me not to have been doing it for a really long time before teaching, because by the time I got onto YouTube, I had been doing witch stuff for, 15 years. So it was not secondhand, but I felt more learned in it than I do with the runes. So it is, a learn together series, like Thomas was saying. That's okay. You're not late. Oh, thank you, Karen. I appreciate it. Okay, so I am going to start out by saying that I'm kind of a history buff, so you guys have to bear with me. This first video, we're not going to be looking at many of the individual runes, although I will show a few. I want to go through each rune separately as a separate video, so this is really an introduction. This is an introduction, which means to me, I'm a history buff. So the history of how the runes came to be, where they came from, that kind of stuff is really fun to me. So if it's not fun to you, sorry. It really is. It's really interesting to me to know where something came from, and to know how it came about. And so I really like to start at the beginning to find out, where it came from. I also need to tell you, before I start, I'm just going to tell you so that you all know, we have another teacher here to help us. Last night, now literally here I am, I've been doing all this researching for months on the runes and where they came from and how they came about and what the magical purposes is versus the non-magical, all that stuff. So I've really kind of immersed myself in runes for a couple months. And I had a dream last night. Shocker, right? So me, who suddenly has been having all these dreams, like I, dreamt Hecate came to me in a dream last month and gave me the recipe for my blue moon oil. So I had a dream. And in my dream, one of my Scullies that I have not connected with yet, but I've had for a little while now, came to me and told me his name and told me that he is here to help me and help us learn the runes. And his name is Elder Futhark. So this is him. His name is Elder Futhark. Elder had a son who I am trying to find, who I may have found at the shop today. I'm not sure if it's him or not. Honestly, I didn't have time to meditate with him, so I'm not certain. But this may be his son. I'm not sure yet. If it is, then his name is going to turn out to be Younger Futhark. And that will become clearer as we go on, because the Elder Futhark is the runes that we're going to start with. And there's 3 different sets of runes, and the Elder Futhark is the oldest. He's Labradorite. So he could have come from Scandinavia, which is where the runes came from. I've been studying the Elder Futhark runes for about 12 years. Yay! Oh, good. I love it. So we have an expert here with us. I can bug you for information if I don't know it. See, 5 sets of runes. Well, now I have been reading about 3 sets. Unless the last set, the Anglo-Saxon thing, kind of, I know it evolved a little bit more, but I don't know about that, if I can be helpful. I'm sure you can be. I'm sure, like I said, we'll all kind of learn together. So Elder is here to help us, though. So he will be joining us. Okay. Now, let me go back. All right, so let's start with what the runes are. The runes are a few different things. They're an alphabet. So like we think of our English alphabet, A, B, C, D. Yes, from the Anglo-Saxon, there's the Icelandic and the Northumbrian. Okay, cool. I feel a little bit better then. So 3, how did I put it? 3 principal futharks. Okay, we'll get there though. All right. So it is both a written alphabet. You have the Icelandic book. Yes, yes, that's awesome. So anyway, it's both a written alphabet from ancient Scandinavia and a sacred form of divination. The futhark or futark, depending on where you are, is named after the first 6 letters of the futark, which is, and we can show actually here. I'll show them in cards because this is a little bit bigger. So the first 6 letters of the runes, you can see, makes up, that's how futark was named. Ures. There's the R and the 6th. And when you put them together, it spells out futhark. That is where the name comes from. And just like, hold on, modern correlation is the QWERTY alphabet. Yes, so like alphabet, when we say we have an alphabet, our alphabet comes from the names of the first 2 letters of our alphabet. So the first letter of our alphabet is Aleph. A-L-E-P-H. Aleph. And the second letter, B, is Beth. B-E-T-H. So you put them together and it's alphabet. So just like that, that's how futhark was named, from the first 6 letters of the runic alphabet. Okay. Rune, from the old Germanic, means both letter, and it also means secret or mystery. In every single Germanic language, that's what rune means. Secret, mystery. It also can mean letter. So the writing, letter, and secret or history. So it has the same dual meanings of what it is. There are 3 principal futharks. We're going to talk about all 3 of them a little bit. We're going to focus, most of the study is going to be focused on the elder futhark until we get through the elder futhark, and then we can start talking about the younger and the Anglo-Saxon and stuff. But for the most part, at least for a while, our studies are really going to focus on the elder futhark. And that's because most of the magic stuff, most of divination, most of the people who use it for divination and that kind of use usually use the elder futhark. You will see other ones. Sometimes people only use the younger futhark because there's less letters. But most of the time, most people who use it for magical purposes use the Elder Futhark. So that's what we're going to focus on, at least to start out with. So the three principal Futharks are the Elder Futhark. That's the oldest. There's 24 characters. Yes, 24 runes. 24 characters in the Elder Futhark. It was developed in the 1st century. And it was completed before the year 400. So before we got to the year 400, the Elder Futhark had already been established. So when you look at, we can talk about where runes are located and stuff. They found lots of runes in Scandinavian countries, some in Celtic countries, a lot of Germanic countries comes from, or you find the runes inscribed, and it comes from that time, from the 1st century, the Elder Futhark came in. Then was the, yep, and a blank sphere. That's good. Yep, absolutely. Perfect. 24 and a blank sphere. Absolutely. Yes, exactly. And some don't include that in there. Exactly. The younger Futhark was the next one to be developed. It's 16 characters, so they kind of cut it down a little bit. And that was developed around 750, somewhere around 750 CE. And eventually that replaced, as far as the alphabet, as far as language, written language, that replaced the Elder Futhark. And then after that came the Anglo-Saxon Futhark, and that gradually altered the Elder Futhark, and it added to it. And that happened in England. Okay. Blank is optional. Exactly. So traditionally, if you are in Sweden or Denmark or any of the Scandinavian or Germanic countries, I use the blank rune as giving the universe the opportunity to tell me not now. That's a good one, right? Because a lot of times, I'm back. Damn it. I hope that I don't have internet problems. A lot of times that the universe, especially in tarot, it can be frustrating when we're like, oh, I have this problem. What do I do? And you know how tarot sometimes goes, ooh, yeah, you have a problem. So I was thinking I would probably use the blank rune the same way. To give the universe the opportunity to say, yeah, that really sucks. Not giving you the answer right now. Because at least in my realm, the universe tends to do that sometimes. Like, yeah, you're not supposed to know that right now. Sorry, but nah. Okay, so traditionally they are carved into stone. Is rather have no answer than the wrong one. Exactly, right? Traditionally, they're carved into stone, wood, bone, metal, or some other hard surface, which explains why, if you look at the runes, they're really kind of angular, sharp. They're not like, our lettering has pretty round things. Yes, Jackson Crawford, great. Absolutely, I love him. He has a great channel on here, Jackson Crawford. If you look him up, he's great. But you don't see a whole lot of curly cues and a whole lot of rounded letters and stuff. But if you think of how they started out, they would carve these into wood and into stone and into metal. And when you're carving that kind of stuff into a hard surface, it's not going to be easy to do a pretty rounded letter. It's easier to do angular, sharp edges. And so that kind of, was a hint to me. I thought, oh, well, no wonder. Because I can barely write as it is. And if I was trying to do that into a wood surface or into a metal surface, it's much easier to do those angular lines than to do some pretty curly cues, right? plus they're make with and carved out of sticks. Right, exactly. So that just, to me, that just, the reason I brought that forward is because to me, I thought, oh, well, duh. No wonder. It's because I always thought, wow, it's very harsh. But duh, they had to like carve them onto hard surfaces. So of course it looks like that. Oh my God, burning my antlers ones was so nice since everything is lines, right? Exactly. That's exactly it. It's simplified version of the Etruscan that was brought across by Etruscan traders in the first couple of centuries. So our current knowledge of the rune comes from 3 rune poems. Now we're talking about the runes as an alphabet, as a written language, okay? There's 3 rune poems that our knowledge of what the language meant that it came from. And if you give me a second, I can name them. But I will tell you that none of them are based on the Elder Futhark. Now, they think that these poems, there's, hold on, I'm trying to find, I've got so many tabs up here as my notes. None of them are based on the Elder Futhark. So there's these 3 poems, and they think that, they meaning scholars, think that those poems were how they taught the language to people. That if you read these poems, then you would be able to remember the meanings of each of the Futharks. And I'm trying to find. Hold on, I saw a question. If you have questions, try to remember to put them in caps for me so that it stands out, because I'm going to go back and forth here. How do you know what set to purchase? We'll get there. Are you talking about personally? We're going to be going over the Elder Futhark. It's up to you what set to purchase as far as wood, metal, glass, whichever set, you like the best and talks to you. That's the one you should purchase. And of course, somehow I closed that particular Oh, come on. Hold on. Poems. Nope, that's right in the introduction. So where is it? 750. Okay. Yes. There we go. Recently got a rune card set from Kickstarter that I love. Good. And there are, I of course cannot find my my little set that I got from Kickstarter too. I of course now cannot find it right now, but hey, I did find my tarot books, so that's a good thing. All right, I can't find it. But here's the thing. The thing is, I was going to get into the poems because it's interesting to me that they have these poems, and that is how, where were they, Mama? Oh, where were the books? They were in Peter's paint room in a grocery bag with the latest book that I had found at a garage sale, at a summer garage sale, about gnomes. I don't know. But I did find them, so that's good. I made a set of bone. Good. Yep. And we'll talk about the different kinds of sets. If you can't find something, look for something else. Exactly. These poems, though, they don't have one for the Elder Futhark, which means I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time on them anyways. But each poem goes through each of the runes, and there's like a stanza of a poem which talks about what that rune means. But it starts with the younger Futhark. And so they believe, scholars believe, that there was probably a poem like that for the elder Futhark, but it's never been found, or at least it's never been identified. Like, okay, this must be the poem for the elder Futhark, which really sucks, because I think that would be a great way to remember the runes, is to have these little stanzas, these little poems, but it only starts with the elder, and then it goes on through the Anglo-Saxon ones. So, yeah, what are you going to do? We can't use them anyways, so that's, that's where we're at. That's okay. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the magical aspect of runes, since that's what we're here for, right? It's all very interesting to talk about the alphabet part of them, and I like to know that it was an alphabet, and that's kind of where it came from. But we need to really get into how we go about putting a magical connotation to runes and why we would do that. Okay, so let me go to my notes here. The earliest, blah, blah, blah. Okay, in the philosophy. So the philosophy of the runes is as such. So in the pre-Christian, so before Christians came about, in the Germanic worldview, the spoken word was really important and kind of possessed almost a spell-like quality. They really believed that once you spoke a word, that made it the truth, that you had created something by speaking it. And so that makes it almost a magical thing in itself. So understand, there was a scholar, Katharina Rodvier, and she says the pronouncement of words was recognized to have tremendous influence over the concerns of life. The impact of a sentence uttered aloud could not be questioned. It could not be questioned. It was just known to be truth at that point. If you dared to utter it aloud, it was known to be truth. As if it had somehow become physical at that point. As if by uttering it, you had brought it into existence. And so it was almost a spell at that point when they believed that when you uttered that word, you manifested it. You brought it into existence. So that words created reality, not the other way around. So that was really an important thing to note, because you'll see that's why we tend to think of the runes as magical, because they believed that was that this was pre-Christian. This was in early pre-Christian Germanic, the worldview. People before Christians, that's what they believed, is that you were uttering it into manifestation. Words don't merely reflect our perception of the world. Rather, we perceive and experience the world in the particular ways that our language demands of it. So if you think of that, thinking outside of language is literally unthinkable. This was a blow my mind kind of moment. Thinking outside of language is unthinkable, because all thought takes place in language. When we think in language. So all thought is unthinkable without language. Hence the inherent godlike creative power of words. As adults, that's how it is. Now we know that babies think, but it's kind of a mystery how they think, right? We see their little smiles. We know that they have a thought process. We know that they're learning very quickly, but by the time we are aware of thought, we have language. When we are aware of thought, by the time we are able to say that we are thinking, it's because we have language, because we're thinking in thought, right? So that brings it power. That brings it the magical ability of manifestation in itself, because we're aware of it. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't mean that you can't think. You're right. Animals think, but they are not aware of their ability to think, right? Now, other than we can say things like dolphins and orcas and that kind of thing, we believe that they have the ability to be aware of their existence. And so they may have the abilities. But what are we talking about? How to make your own runes? To bring the thought into reality, to show what that thought is. Yes, is a type of magic. Yes, exactly. Yes. Used birchwood. That's great. That's really good. You used birchwood and polyclear. Awesome. If you can just hold that thought, though, until we get to that point, then we can talk about it. I just want you to try to live in the present moment, finesse with me, and learn what we're talking about now. If you guys can try to stick with me, I know some of the history stuff is boring. I'll try to get through it, but try to live with me here right now. Don't get ahead of us. I promise we'll get into what kind of runes there are, and then we can talk about what you've made. That's awesome. But let's try to live right here with us, because this is really, I'm paying attention. Okay, that's great. But what I can say is if everybody's talking about something else, then it's hard to live in the present moment unless you're here. You know what I mean? Try to really soak in as much as you can, because the concepts of it they're a lot deeper than you would think. So just like tarot has a lot of deep rivers, right? Runes have a lot of deepness too. And it's funny, when I first started learning runes, I thought, okay, well, it's a letter and you learn what the letter means and you pull the letter and that was it. But there's an inherent magic to the rune itself. And that's why that once you grasp that concept, it suddenly becomes like a whole language in and of itself. It's really interesting. Super interesting. Yeah, we'll make Mama go squirrely. Exactly. History is the foundation of knowledge. Thank you, Leah. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, each of the runes represents a phoneme. 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 The smallest unit of sound, such as t, s, r, and as such is a transposition of a phoneme into visual form. So each rune represents t, th, that kind of thing. So think of each rune as that goes, you need a poster board, right? The depth is probably deeper. Yes, magic can be performed, yes, with it once learned. Exactly, Thomas. And it's so exciting. Once we get this foundational stuff, then suddenly you realize how deep it is. It's like, it gives me goosebumps how deep it is. And what you can do with that knowledge is freaking cool as shit. So it is, each rune is that phoneme. So each rune represents that phoneme as a visual. So this means th, r, and it in that could hold power. And this is where the linguistics of it kind of comes into play. So bear with me. I'm going to take a sip. Hold on one second. Because there's a little bit different thought pattern from what modern linguistics talk about. So hold on one sec. Bear with me, and hopefully at the end of this, you'll do the same thing I did, which was go, oh, yeah. Okay, so here we go. So most of the time, modern linguistics take it for granted that the relationship between the signified, the concrete reality referred to of a word, and the signifier, the sounds used to vocalize it, is arbitrary. What does that mean? So most of the time, linguistics say, when we say rock, it's arbitrary what we decided to use to describe rock is arbitrary. It just happened. Okay, that's most of the time, that's what linguistics are saying. There's a minority of linguistics people, though, that embrace an opposing theory called phonosemantics. This is the idea that there is, in fact, a meaningful connotation between the sounds that make up a word and the word's meaning. So to put it another way, the phoneme itself carries inherent meaning. So the meaning of the word thorn, for example, derives in large part from the combined meanings of th, o, r, n, thorn. And it, when it was put together, suddenly, of course, it's thorn, because they believe that those phonemes, those sounds, context gives words meaning, not the word itself. Yes, rock can mean mineral music. Yes, exactly. But they believe that those sounds, th, r, o, a, k, that they all meant something, that there is inherent meaning in each of the sounds. Okay? So if this represents that phoneme, that sound, then there was an inherent meaning to this. And so this is a visualization of an entire inherent meaning. Okay? Which means that that gives it power. All ancient cultures credited sounds with power. Yes, exactly. I credit sounds with power. When I heal, I wear a very specific healing bracelet that as I am healing, I'm moving that bracelet, because to me, the vibrational sounds, I can hear the vibrational sounds when I skip, when I get to a part in your meridian that skips, I can hear it with sound. Sometimes I may miss it with the feeling, but I can hear it with the sound. Okay? So by giving that, if I made a rune based off of that healing sound of the bracelet that I wear, then does that symbol then hold the meaning of the healing sound? It might. Because I now have taken that healing sound and given it a visual representation, a visual power. Okay? So that is the magic of runes, is that it is the visual power of a sound, a preset sound that is ancient. Okay? Does that make sense to anyone, to some of you? So cool, right? So the phonosemantic, what we just talked about, I get it is the power of the sound. Wait, sorry. I get that it is the power of the sound, but still confused. Just bear with me. There's stuff about bind runes being made by folks who hadn't learned the runes properly and had cursed themselves because they hadn't seen the hidden runes in their bind rune. Woo! That's depth. Yes. I feel like that connects to, yes. Even the use of Om, yes, in Tibet is given a specific vocal performance. Exactly. There's a load of depth there. Sound with intention. Exactly. So much intention. Yes. So the phonosemantic view is in agreement with the traditional North European view, where words create reality, not the other way around. The runes, as representations, as visual representations of phenoms, bring the inherent creative powers of speech into the visual medium, into our eyesight. We've already noted that the word rune means letter, only secondarily, and that its primary meaning is secret or mystery. The mysterious power carried by the phenom itself. Phoneme. I don't know why I keep saying phenom. The phoneme. We must remember that the ordeal Odin undertook in order to discover the runes. No one would hang from a tree without food or water for 9 days, ritually wounded by his own spear, in order to obtain a set of arbitrary signifiers. Odin wouldn't have done that just to have someone go, here, I'll write you up a couple letters. Here you go. He did that because he knew the inherent power of the runes, okay? And we're going to go through, having said that now, almost. I'm going to go through the story of Odin, because after we've gone through this, it becomes even more powerful, and you suddenly realize why Odin needed to do that. It wasn't just to get this alphabet, right? So the perspective takes on an additional layer of significance. The relationship between the definition of a word and the phoneme is inherently meaningful. The relationship between the phoneme and its graphic representation is meaningful as well. The runes were not only a means of fostering communication between two or more humans. Ready? Here we go. Here's another mind blow. Here we go. Being intrinsically meaningful symbols, okay, so that the symbols themselves have meaning that could be read and understood by at least some non-human beings, it meant that they could facilitate communication between humankind and the invisible powers who animate the visible world, providing the basis for a plethora of magical acts. So let's put that into better terms. So if this has meaning, this symbol has a meaning all of its own because it's a phoneme. This symbol has meaning. Wait, so some animals know the runes too? Yes, Mikey, some animals know the runes too. And guess who else? The gods. The gods know the runes. And aliens could know the runes. And our deities could know the runes. And any living creature could know the runes because the symbol itself is a phoneme, and the phoneme has a meaning. So that could facilitate our higher selves know the meanings. Exactly. We already know the meanings. We don't know we know them, but we know the meanings. We've had a universal language this whole time. Yes. Yes, we have. So we now have a communication ability to communicate with higher beings, with beings on other planets, with beings on other realms, with deity that may not speak English. It's funny that before this, I inherently, when I'm speaking to deity, I don't use the phonemes of that kind of thought because I feel like I have always felt like my ability comes as clairsentience, a clair knowing. I just feel like I get full thoughts and feelings. Well, there's a reason for that because it never made sense to me to speak my language if they're not going to understand the language. But this transposes that. This is outside of that. So now we have this language that can cross over, that can create that ability. Okay, mind blown, right? Isn't that cool? Okay, where are we? Yes, insanely cool. Universal language. They are used to communicate and channel between the spirits and deities. Yes, we are remembering, not learning. Exactly. Yes, yes, we are one. I love it. Sorry, Linda. Gotta unlock those meanings. Exactly. The phoneme has a unique vibration too, understood by plants and energies and everything. That's right. Sigils. Yes, yes, sigils. Yes. I'm putting my other studies on hold for runes. Yay, right? It's just so it's like unlocking the secrets of the universe. And so, all right, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. Because then we can use those runes. We can, not only can we use them for communication stuff, but then we can use them in everything we do as power symbols. And we can use them in our altar, in our spells, in our, to say, hey, universe, gods, deities, I need to unlock abundance. I'm having a really hard time with abundance. So I'm going to use, wham, I'm going to use this rune that I know this is what this means. And I'm going to draw that onto this spell that I'm creating, put it on my altar, put it on my mirror so that I see it all the time. So I'm putting out the vibration of abundance. And therefore, everything in existence is going to recognize that and give me back what I'm asking for. Right? Yes. Pay attention to all the runes you will now see day to day. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Shit. Shoot. Lorelai had said, yes. Okay. It's almost like a language that can communicate emotion, right? Yes. Pay attention. Yes, yes. Who are you reading? Who were you reading from? Look into. Who are you reading from? Look into. Oh, right now, who am I reading from? I will post this stuff. This is a site that I have found. Although I've done research in lots of different books. I've got like 12 books around me, but there's a site that I found. Has everyone read The Way of Word? Ha 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 ha. Coastal, yes. There's a site that I found called Norse Mythology for Smart People, and it's norse-mythology.org, and that's a really good one. And that's where I've been reading from because they put it in a way that I felt was easiest to communicate to you guys anyway, to get to this point. Okay. Thus, in verses, we see that the carving of runes is the primary means. Okay, so let's go to Odin. Let's go to Odin. Okay, here we go. Odin's discovery of the runes. Okay, so I'm just going to read through this story, okay? Because this is really interesting, all right? The Norse god Odin is a relentless seeker after knowledge and wisdom, and he is willing to sacrifice almost anything for this pursuit. Please, guys, if you have questions for me, try to remember to put them in caps because I'm reading from different sites and stuff, so I'm back and forth to the YouTube page, okay? The most outstanding feature of his appearance, his one eye, attests to this. He sacrificed his other eye for more wisdom. The tale of how he discovered the runes is another example of his unquenchable thirst for understanding the mysteries of life, not to mention his unstoppable will, right? The runes are the written letters that were used by the Norse and other Germanic peoples before the adoption of the Latin alphabet. Unlike the Latin alphabet, the runes are symbols, some of the most powerful forces. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, Odin's discovery. At the center of the Norse cosmos stands the tree Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil's upper branches, so here's Yggdrasil in between, Asgard is up above in the upper branches. Cradle Asgard, the home and fortress of Aesir, gods and goddesses, of whom Odin is the chief. Yggdrasil, so the tree itself, grows out of the well, so underneath, the well of Erd, a pool whose fathomless depths hold many of the most powerful forces and beings in the cosmos. Among those are the Norns, the three fates, the Norns, right? Three sagacious maidens who create the fates of all beings. One of the foremost techniques they use to shape fate. So when the three fates are saying, okay, Jennifer up above is asking to see her fate, or someone is asking about her fate and we want to reveal what the fate is, they carve onto Yggdrasil a rune. Okay, so this is how they communicate the fate of someone. Okay, the symbols, one of the foremost techniques they use to shape fate is carving runes into Yggdrasil's trunk. The symbols then carry these intentions via the runes throughout the tree, affecting everything in the 9 worlds. So they carve a rune in there saying, up, here we go. Jennifer up above, she is going to turn in the wrong direction and cause someone's demise. So they carve that into the tree via a rune. And that goes throughout Yggdrasil and throughout the 9 worlds, and everyone knows it because the fates have carved that into Yggdrasil. Did I miss a question? How are we doing? Everybody with me so far? Coastal is red. Sorry, guys. I know I'm missing stuff. Yes, the X used to kiss at the end of a card. Yep, exactly. Yes. Shoot. I missed a question. Universal language. You don't think that the runes could be a way of communication with whatever could be a hellier? Absolutely, Amanda. For sure. Yes, for sure. They used runes as the magical written language in Earthsea miniseries. They used Old Norse in Aragon. Yes. Yes. Okay. So, Odin watched the Norns. He watched the three fates from his seat in Asgard, and he envied their powers and their wisdom, and he bent his will toward the task of coming to know the runes. So he saw that the fates had this enormous power and wisdom in the runes, and he thought, you know what? I want to fucking know how to do that. I want to know how to bend fate. I want to know how to use the runes to my advantage. So, since the runes have their native home is in the Well of Erd underneath Yggdrasil with the Norns, and since the runes do not reveal themselves to any but those who prove themselves worthy of such fearful insights and abilities, Odin hung himself from a branch of Yggdrasil, pierced himself with his spear, and peered downwards into the shadowy waters below. So he pierced himself, hung himself, and peered upside down on Yggdrasil, and peered down into the well of Erd below for 9 days. He forbade any of the other gods to grant him the slightest aid, not even a sip of water. And he stared downward and stared downward and stared downward and called to the runes, please come to me. I am sacrificing myself to know your wisdom, to know what you have to offer. He survived in this state, teetering on the precipice that separates the living from the dead for no less than 9 days and nights. At the end of the 9th night, he at last perceived the shapes in the depths, the runes. They had accepted his sacrifice, the runes, not the Norns. The Norns didn't give up the runes. The runes themselves accepted Odin's sacrifice and shown themselves to him, revealing to him not only their forms, but also the secrets that lie within them. So I think that's very important to me anyway, that it wasn't the fates that gave Odin the runes. It was the runes themselves that gave of themselves, that said, okay, we will reveal ourselves to him. He's worthy. It wasn't the fates to give. The runes themselves had the ability to reveal themselves. Having fixed this knowledge in his formidable memory, Odin ended his ordeal with a scream of exultation. Having been initiated into the mysteries of the runes, Odin encountered. Then I was fertilized and became wise. I truly grew and thrived. From a word to a word, I was led to a word. From a work to a work, I was led to a work. Equipped with the knowledge of how to wield the runes, he became one of the mightiest and most accomplished beings in the cosmos. He learned chants that enabled him to heal emotional and bodily wounds, to bind his enemies and render their weapons worthless, to free himself from constraints, to put out fires, to expose and banish practitioners of malevolent magic, to protect his friends in battle, to wake the dead, to win and keep a lover, to perform many other feats like these. So he sacrificed himself. The poem says, I was fertilized and I became wise. So what happened? Odin says later that he sacrificed of himself to himself. So it is, to me, here we have again a perfect example of the wheel of the year, the continuous wheel that we talk about over and over and over and over and over. The wheel that is death and birth and life and death again and rebirth and life. And that is a part of that continuous wheel that everything is a part of. That was Odin's sacrifice. Was he went through a literal death and rebirth in order to get the in order to receive the knowledge of the runes. Okay, super fucking fascinating, if you ask me. All this time I thought runes were just an alphabet, right? The runes themselves, is there an entity type of connection with the runes? Kind of like Scullies decide who they belong with and who they reveal themselves to. I believe so, Mikey. I believe that there is an entity. Because they were able to reveal themselves. It was not for anyone else, even the Norns, as powerful as they were, the fates, it was not, the runes were not the fates' property to give. The runes themselves had their own, they had to accept their own revealing. And so to me, I believe that the runes themselves are their own entity, that they have the power to reveal themselves to us. And so because of that, the amount of mind-blowing power that each of these has then is limitless. So when we are studying and figuring out, that's why I believe each of these runes is going to need their own video, right? At least, at the very minimum, because each one is so friggin' powerful that we're going to really have to in depth say, okay, I have to figure out this and this and this about it. It's such a deep cavern of knowledge. Each rune is such a deep cavern that there's going to be many aspects and many ways to try to go about getting them to reveal themselves to us. Right? That's why we blood them. Yes. Yes. I haven't even gotten to that, but yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry, it skipped. So I just want to make sure I'm not missing any. I better get it here because I'm too old to hang myself upside down to learn. Yes. The explanation of rebirth reminds me of the snake that's in a circle and about to, yes. Yep, absolutely. Wow. My brain is so bad that I can't even think of what it's called now. But yes, exactly. Yep. They revealed themselves to Odin. Yes, they were not revealed to Odin. Yes, exactly. Shit. It jumped again. Hold on. I sort of understand why people think the runes are simply an alphabet, but there's so much more and it's exciting. Yes, when people realize that. Exactly. That's why I find written language. So yes, they definitely need their own video. I'm sure there's lots of kind of connections with Yggdrasil and Odin that have been blurred by the Christian. Yes, for sure. Undertones of the sagas and the Eddas. Yes, exactly. The rabbit holes. I know. I'm kind of like, oh shit. Are each of these videos going to be like 6 hours long? Or are we going to be like, oh my gosh, and then this happened, and then this happened? I know that. Hold on. I know it. Hold on. It's called the. It's been here. Oberos. Thank you, Oberos. Thank you, Antonello. I appreciate it. It was like here, and the rooms are up here. Yes. Okay. Runes are sort of part of the ether, and they are the expressible part of it. And even by that, there's so much more. Yes, 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 and yes. The battle between Thor and Jormungandr, the world serpent, was Christian, not originally pagan. Oberos, thank you. Yes, you could do about 3 hours on each one. Yes, I know, exactly. For sure. That's why they say that learning them is just the beginning. Yes, to meditate on them. Exactly. For sure. Bring on the 6-hour videos. Okay. Yes. Okay. So, perfect. So that is, let me take a sip. That is kind of like the basic beginnings of the history. We could do, we're over an hour now. We could keep delving into it. But I want to talk about the basic kinds of runes. So you will see me using these. And I did post the link for the Etsy shop that sells these. These are a set of wood runes that comes in their own little case. And I'm not trying to sell them. I just thought that this was a really interesting way to do it. Each of these little tiles has the rune on it and just says, a little bit about that rune. So, for instance, this is the first rune, and it says, nope. Ooh, they're little. It says, see, this is not the first rune. Glasses. It says, Fehu, property, wealth, and power. So it gives you just a little cheat thing that says a very, very short, minute thing about it. But I will be using some of these during my teachings so that we get, a basic thing. I will try to remember to come back and post the link for that because they were $20. And so that was a really good deal. I did post them in the event page also. So that's one of the ways you can do the runes. You can get little wood slices and draw or burn the wood slices. This one is the Palo Santo set that we had at the shop for a long time. There is stone sets. There is the little glass. I was going to try to pull out as many as I could of these, but there's the little, you know, the little glass things for fish tanks. So you can get them at the Dollar Tree. They're usually like blue or clear or green. You can get those and use those for runes and just draw on them with like a metallic marker. You can find yourselves little stones. You have to try to find as flat as you can and close to about the same size stones. You can do that. There's a million different sets out there you can buy. There are rune cards that you can use those. Now, I have a couple sets of the rune cards. The more I read about the runes, I wanted a physical set of runes that I could dig through and choose more than cards. But cards may be okay for you. That's okay too. If it works for you, it works, right? I'm going to tell you a couple of recommendations. First of all, I recommend that you try, if you have selenite, I would recommend that you put a little piece of selenite. We sell these at the store for like $1. I recommend that you put a little piece of selenite in with your runes. Couple things. First of all, it will keep them cleansed. The cards to work with you tomorrow. I will. Yes, the same size. You can't tell them apart if you are feeling them, picking them out of a bag. Exactly. It will keep them cleansed in between uses. And selenite has to do with communication. So it will increase, especially in the beginning when we're learning, it will increase the power and vibration of the runes so that hopefully we are able to hear, see, feel the vibrational energy of those runes a little bit better. Okay? Cut small limbs, antlers, pebbles, exactly, all of that. So, when you get your set of runes, plus selenite is just the bomb diggity. It is. When you get your set of runes, there's a couple different ways to cleanse them. There's lots of different ways to cleanse them. Depending on what they're made out of and stuff, you can cleanse them. I would cleanse them in all natural water if you're going to cleanse them in water. Smoke. For me, I really like smoke. So you would pass them through the smoke. There is a thing called, and this is somewhat controversial. I will tell you that I'm going to be doing these. I will be doing this. This does not mean you have to do this. You don't have to do this. But it is a tradition it's called bleeding your runes, to bleed your runes. And what that means is that you mix your blood with ink. I will be using, I have Dove's Blood ink, which is just ink. It's, you know, it's you can at pagan shops and stuff a lot of times, and you can also make your own. I have not been able to make my own ink that actually works really well as ink. It kind of is way too watery usually, but anyways, the point is if you put a couple drops of your blood in this ink and you go over the runes with your blood in it, you are marking these runes as your own. Your energy is in these runes and you are marking them as your own. You're telling these runes that I am the practitioner that will be calling on you. And if these are entities, we are saying, I invite you in. Okay, it's like a ritual to invite your energy into your into the entities that you're asking to them to open up to you, right? And it also symbolizes Odin's sacrifice in gaining the knowledge of the runes. I didn't bleed my runes, but I traced them with a red Sharpie. That's fine too. Absolutely. For sure. It's the icky, sticky work of making your own runes. It's basically expected in the Eddas that you craft your runes with your own blood. Exactly. Yep. Yes. That's okay, Kay. Believe me, when I made my own runes, I can ensure that my blood was spilled on them several times, right? And that's true. Never heard of bleeding your runes before. Yep, to connect with. I've done this with 2 of my sets, my bone set, my willow set, and I can feel the difference. They went from acquaintance to family. See that? It helps to connect, and it helps signal your runes that you are mine. You could always use red paint. Absolutely. And again, I don't want to say that this is an absolutely necessary thing. It's not. If you guys don't want to do that, I'm not telling you that you have to do that in order to unlock the runes. I'm not telling you that. Please understand. I am not saying that. I am saying that I'm going to do that. And yep, saliva would work for sure. Absolutely, because that is my blood with water to wash them. Absolutely, for sure. Yes. That something could go south if you bleed your runes. No, not at all, because you are connecting to them. That's all you are signaling that you are connecting. This is sort of why runes are great to help communicating with the Norse gods. Yes, exactly, for sure. Dragon's blood resin is also a great substitute, for sure. Absolutely. If you guys are not comfortable with bleeding your runes on a technical, on a very real purpose, you absolutely don't have to do that. Dragon's blood ink, for sure. Yes, definitely. You don't have to bleed them out. Maybe just the ones that you get a deeper connection with, for sure. Absolutely. It's about your intent. Your runes will hear what you mean, even with just energy, paint, blessed water, for sure. You do not have to, any bodily fluid, pick your favorite. Exactly, for sure. I'm not going to use my blood, but I was just wondering. Yes, absolutely, for sure. Oh, I'm going to use my blood, but yes, absolutely. Any bodily, for sure. It's about your intent. Again, your intent is everything, right? Is everything, for sure. It's about connecting to them. Also, there's a thing called breathing life into them. So after that's done, I would, when you, the first time you meditate with them, I would meditate, and the point is, you now have bled them, you have put your saliva, you have however you wanted to, you put your intent into there, your DNA, however you wanted to do that, you did that. And now this is the meditation you're doing with your runes to introduce yourself. Breathe life into them. And by that, I mean blow on them. Put your breath into your runes. Exactly what works for us. Exactly right. If it works for you, it works. Now, I'm not sure if everyone does that the same, or if it's just because I'm an air person that seems very incredibly important to me. I'm trying to think of, if you're a water person, pee on them though. No. Spit on them. You could spit on them. What if you're a fire person though? If you're an earth person, I don't know, you could put them under your armpits. I don't know. I feel like I do that every time in Ogham casting. See? And that's the blowing is a big deal, specific to the rune. It's like waking them up. Yeah. It's like saying, here I am. We're going to Breath is life. Exactly. The breath is sacred to them. And it's our breath. And each time we're doing that, we're introducing ourselves again. This is me. You're my runes, and I'm saying, here we go. This is all for my greater good, right? And each time you're going to do some kind of reading, that would be what I would do. That's I've heard that from several different people. And again, but I wasn't sure if that was because I was an air person that seemed like, oh, of course that has to happen. But breath is life. So I can see that would work with everything. Yes, blood, sweat went into the making of my alms, but that was because of the way I made them, sighing without a vice, ground knuckles, right? Bringing air into the air element, same as singing to them. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, perfect. What else was I going to talk about? We've kind of, what are we, an hour and 15? All right, so I think that's a good place to stop. That's a good introduction. So this week, it's about their sound. You cannot sing or make their sound without breath. Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, son. Each rune has their own process to be awakened. In who do I know? They breathe on their bones for bone casting and spit alcohol on them as an offering. Maybe a similar concept. I could see that for sure. Okay. Any questions about the introductory part here? I have truly loved this part. How much is needed? Yeah, just a few drops. We're not gonna, color each one red. You must bathe them in the blood of your... No, just a few drops is fine. It's okay. About 3 pints. Yeah, that's good. Good. And I thank you all for the people who have been doing this for a lot longer than me. I thank you all for your knowledge and for bringing us your knowledge. I truly appreciate it. And I know, open a vein, stop when you feel faint. Yes, exactly. Just before you pass out, make sure you stop before you pass out. All right. So next time we are going to start with the first rune. Unless I think that we need something else. If people are asking me questions that I think, oh shit, we might need one more video before we start with the runes. But we are going to start with this rune first. This is the... Nope, I did it again. Damn it. Nope, this one. We're going to start with this rune. This is the first rune. So we are starting with this one. So next Thursday, I will create an event when we're done here. Next Thursday, we are starting with this rune. So this will be the rune for next week. We will start going into the readings. Now, you know what? Gosh, I had so much more. So what I was going to say is there's lots of different ways to do it. Actually, so next Thursday, we're going to start with a little bit more of an introduction of how to do a reading, just so we can practice in between. But I will tell you that people usually either have a bag, and it has to be big enough so you can kind of shake them up. Or I'm going to keep mine. I kind of pulled my bone castings out and put it in a bag. I'm going to keep mine in my little coconut shell. And then there's several different ways to do this. You can either, it's called casting your runes. You can either cast them all. Let me take my selenite out, which means you're shaking them up and you throw them. Now I have this tray. When I actually start casting my runes, I'm going to use this tray, which means you throw them onto the tray. Okay, and you're going to end up picking out all the ones that are upside down, aren't right side up, that kind of stuff. Or depending on what kind of reading you're doing, you're going to pick one out at a time. So you're not looking at it, you're going to pick one rune out at a time and do a reading that way. Or you can also get a mat. Any kind of mat will do, but I would do a mat with some kind of symbol on it, or at least a border, so that you know what is outside of the border or the symbol is off limits, right? So you can say, if I have this mat down and I cast them, and anything that does not land in the pentacle, I'm gonna disregard those. Okay? Or a sacred geometry. Like, I have a lot of these from like my Kickstarter decks and stuff. So sacred geometry works. So there's lots of different ways to do that. A sun cross, exactly. So there's lots of different ways to do a reading itself. And I'll start next week before we go into the first rune, which is this one. I picked the right one finally. I will start next week with just a couple very basic ways to do a reading, so we can start practicing. Okay. Also, on a note, you may see runes named different things. Yes, that's because of the different darks. Exactly. They're named the same, but they're translated into different languages, for sure. Yes. Yes, yes. So there's an Anglo-Saxon name, an Icelandic name, an Old Norse name. Exactly. Yes, I want that cloth. All are acceptable, but the Old Norse names, I'm guessing, will be used. Yes, as this is the Elder Futhark. Exactly. And as far as Elder is concerned, we are using the Elder Futhark, right? And so if you have problems with any of these, try to connect. He told me in my dream that he is here to help us. It's not just me. He is here to help us. So try to connect to Elder Futhark here. He's here to help us. Truly. And he wants to help. All right. I love you guys so much. Thank you for really being as wonderful as you all are. And try to point out, I would definitely say this week, you have a couple of homeworks. One is to, every time you see a rune out and about in your community, remember that, or write it down somewhere, or say, oh, I think I saw a rune here. You'll see them more than you think on advertisements, on all that kind of stuff. Like, try to remember that, write it down or something. The other thing is, if you have your set of runes, do something to connect with them. Do your bleeding, or draw over them with a pencil, or whatever, okay? Just to try to connect, so cleanse and try to connect with your runes this week. Okay? And notice, be aware of where you see the runes. Okay? Thank you guys so much. I love you all so, so much. Yes, you can use peaceful blood too. Exactly, son. Yes. Mwah. Good night. I love you.